we've already identified, or I've already shown you dimensional analysis. That's precisely what I've uh, been doing in the previous questions, where I was dividing away the units that were the same on the top and bottom. So this is where we formalize that definition. If we have measurements in two different units represent the same actual length, then we can create a fraction and do division of the units. And that fraction, by the way, is a fancy way to say one. For example, we know that 3 feet equals 1 yard. That was defined. So if I divide 3 feet by 1 yard, that's a unitless 1. Or we could think of that as a 1 foot yard, which is a weird way. We don't often do that. But likewise, if I switch the divisor, we get 1 yard equals 1 yard divided by 3 feet. That's also a unitless 1, because each of these things is the same length of measurement. So we call those fractions a conversion factor. And we can multiply whichever form of the conversion factor cancels out the units we're wanting to get rid of. So here our author asks us to look through, here's an equivalency statement. We're saying that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. That's by definition. So one conversion factor is to say, well, if I take 1 meter and divide it by 100 centimeters, that's equal to 1. And an equivalent fraction is if I put the centimeters on top and put the meters on bottom. We'll do all the rest. Here's where I had the 1 mile equals 5,280 feet, and I already demonstrated its use. One of the things that's very important when you work with these conversion factors is that you write the units with them, both the top and bottom, the numerator and the denominator, because you want to keep track of where are the units to help you determine which ones you want to cancel. So here 1 foot equals 12 inches. Here's our two conversion factors. And here we're going from a standard measurement to a metric. So 1 inch is approximately 2.54 centimeters. That's a rounded value. Depending upon what you work with, some people might want more precision than that. Okay, so on the next page, we're going to use these conversion factors. All right, so we want to convert 22 feet into inches. Now, our author asks us to do both the right thing and the wrong thing at the same time and compare and see how can we tell which one was the correct conversion factor to multiply by. So we'll take the 12 inches divided by 1 foot, put that here. We're doing that multiplication. And likewise, the 1 foot divided by 12 inches. All right. So notice in the first one, this is the correct one. And the way I know is that these feet cancel and we're left with 22 times 12 inches. Notice in the second one, none of the units cancel because we aren't dividing and multiplying by the same units. So we get 22 feet squared divided by 12 inches. Let's jump to Desmos real quick. I'm going to grab what both of those numbers are. So I got 22, times 12, that's 264. And then I've got 22 divided by 12, did it in the same line. Let's do the next line, 22 divided by 12, and I get approximately 1.83. So let's go back and let's put the units on these two numbers. So here's my 264. That's just in inches because the feet canceled and everything was fine. Over here, this is feet squared divided by inches. Notice they're both 100% correct. In fact, we can say that 264 inches is exactly equal to 1.83 feet squared divided by inches. The question is, what is this? Like, how is that useful to us? And it's not. So clearly, this is the correct conversion factor. And the way you tell which is the correct conversion factor is which one cancels out the units you're wanting to get rid of and leaves you with the units you wanted. Right? We started with feet and we wanted to end in inches, and the one that had the inches in the top and the feet in the bottom is the one that made that conversion factor. So back to our calculation, what is it? There it is, 264 inches is equivalent to 22 feet. These are equal statements. So let's go a little further with this, and let's do something a little more challenging. slight more challenging. Our goal here is to convert 3 miles uh, into yards for starters. All right. So how many miles are in a yard? Well, if we look back at our previous page with conversion factors, we had, we'll just follow what he said. Let's convert miles to feet. So we're going to start with 3 miles. And we know that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Notice the conversion factor I'm using here. I'm putting the 5,280 feet in the top and the 1 mile in the bottom because the miles cancel. I could have multiplied by 1 mile over 5,280 feet, but I would have been, that would have been wrong. Would have gotten us a useless answer. Let's say that. It's not wrong, just not a great answer. So we get that 3 miles is equal to 15,840 feet. Well, our author then says, hey, now use the conversion factor to convert the answer from question 8 to yards. So we're going to take this 15,840 feet, that's the unit we're starting with, and we're going to convert it into yards. Well, we know that 3 yards is equal to 1 foot. And because I want yards as my remaining units, I'm going to cancel out the feet. In other words, the feet is going to be the divisor, the yards is going to be the numerator. And what do we get here? Okay, so let's pause and ask ourselves, did I actually write down the correct units here? Do 3 yards equal 1 feet? No, they do not. It should be 1 yard equals 3 feet. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to cancel out all this, and we want 15,840 feet. The equivalency statement is that 3 feet equals 1 yard. So I want, as I had before, 1 yard in the numerator and 3 feet in the denominator. I still want the units in the correct place. I just need the correct equivalency between those units. 1 yard, 3 feet. All right, so these are going to cancel, and here's a little trick. Remember how we multiplied 5,280 by 3 above, and now we're dividing that product by 3? That means when we do this division, we're going to get 5,280, but the answer is different than the feet. It's now in yards. Okay, so it turns out we could have done this all in one fell swoop. So we could take the 3 miles, and we could just multiply by each of these conversion factors. So we've got the 5,280 feet over 1 mile, and then we've got the 1 yard divided by 3 feet. And here we can look through all of our units and we can say, oh, look, these feet cancel with these feet, these miles cancel with these miles, and we're left with yards. We can also note that 3 divided by 3 is 1. So here we are at 5,280 yards as our final answer. So the moral of this story is, if you want to do this slowly, step by step, you can do it up here, 1 conversion factor at a time, or you can do all the conversion factors at once. If any of you are interested in the nursing program, this is one of the skills that you have to have. You have to be able to convert units. And it's kind of a basic prereq. They have a test that you have to pass in order to continue in the nursing program. We're a nation that needs nurses these days, so I encourage you to look into that. It's also a high-paying job. It's a tough one, but if you're motivated and organized and a hard worker in terms of study, you can do it. Okay, so let's finish up with one last problem. We're going to focus on units of length, but we can also do this with anything. So on page 64, there's a nice set of conversion factors. I'll put those here just so you can see them. And what we're going to do is find how many cups are in a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. So there are multiple ways to get through this. I'm going to demonstrate one. So we're going to start with 2 liters. And when I look at my conversion factor table, I see that I can convert liters to quarts, or I can convert liters to gallons, either way. And then once I'm in either of those 2 measurements, I can move up here and I could go from quarts to pints and then pints to cups, or I could go gallons to quarts to pints to cups. So clearly, if I use the conversion factor that 1.06 quarts is equal to 1 liter, this is going to be a little bit faster method to get there. I'm then going to multiply by the number of pints in a quart. So I want quarts to cancel, so I'll put the quarts down here and the 2 pints here. PT is pints, and then finally how many cups are in a pint. So I've got my 1 pint down here and my 2 cups here, and we're going to cancel away. Notice liters cancel with liters, quarts cancel with quarts, pints cancel with pints, and our final answer is cups. Once we multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 1.06, we'll do that in Desmos real quick. 1.06 times 2 times 2 times 2, and we get 8.48 cups. Word of caution, if you use the gallon conversion factor, the 3.79 liters equals 1 gallon, you'll get a similar answer, one that's very close but slightly different. The reason is the 1.06 quarts and the 3.79 liters, those are both rounded values. So based on the number of digits you round it to, that's how precise, how close these results will be.